Okay, good. That's a good start.
There we go. That should have let people in.
Lovely. Hello, everybody. We will start in 2 minutes at 11 o'clock. Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock, and hopefully I'll just do an introduction while everyone joins, and then hopefully by the time I finish that, everyone will be ready, and we can start on the important stuff. Okay, so good morning. Welcome to the Applicant webinar for the 2025 Bioinformatics and Biological Resources Fund, or 25 BBR as I will be calling it going forward. So a couple of points before we get started. Firstly, this is our first time using the Teams webinar function, so apologies in advance for any technical issues, but hopefully it's all good. Secondly, if you have any questions throughout, please do pop them in the chat. We've got plenty of time for questions at the end, so we'll be happy to answer them. And lastly, I'll introduce myself and some of the other office staff who you'll be interacting with over the next coming months. So I'm Linda. I work in the research infrastructure team at BB, and I'll be the strategic lead for 25 BBR. We also have Daniela, who's the joint interim head of transformative technologies, and Daniela has worked on BBR for many years, so she knows lots about it and is supporting me. We also have colleagues from our research funding and innovation delivery team, so Ruth and Maddie. So Maddie will be leading on the peer review for 25 BBR with support from Ruth. Okie dokie. So the purpose of today's webinar is to provide some background to 25 BBR opportunity, to clarify the scope of 25 BBR, and to explain the application and assessment process. Before that, though, I'm going to start by covering the recently published BBSRC Refreshed Forward Look, which was developed in consultation from many stakeholders, so thank you if you helped us. It sets out a long-term, high-level vision and ambition and commitments which underpin our strategic delivery plan. BBSRC's vision is to harness the power of bioscience to deliver a healthy, sustainable and resilient future. And BBSRC's ambition is to deliver 3 high-level and interconnected impacts, which are healthy people, animals and plants, sustainable agriculture and food and systems, and a resilient bioeconomy. And we'll achieve our ambition through catalysing discovery, creating and deploying transformative technologies, and applying innovations to deliver real-world change. BBSRC is committed to providing leadership and catalysing collaborative working to support the people, infrastructures and routes to impact that will deliver progress. So when we share the slides, we'll link to the new forward look, or it's available on our website. It should be easy to find if you'd like to read more about it. So back to BBR. So bioinformatics and biological resources are an essential component of the UK's bioscience infrastructure, helping drive forward progress in bioscience research and innovation. Sustainable provision of high-quality, fair biological data and cutting-edge bioinformatics software are critical enablers of data-driven discoveries in the 21st century. The availability of nationally and internationally important bioscience data assets are key to ensuring the UK's future international competitiveness, particularly for application of artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies that promise to transform our understanding of living systems and accelerate the bioeconomy. So similarly, the provision of comprehensive cutting-edge biological materials is vital to enabling efficient use of resources across research communities, unlocking new opportunities for research across diverse and distributed teams in the UK, and to enhance the reproducibility of research findings by ensuring consistent biological standards within the field. So BBR aims to help address this need by providing a sustainable route to support resources such as databases, software, and biological materials. So projects must focus on the delivery of a community resource that addresses a significant demand or supports an established user base in the biosciences. So you can request funding for up to 5 years, with a maximum award of £2 million at 80% full economic costs, or FEC, and the earliest start date that can be requested is the 1st of July 2026. So, projects supported through BBR focus on high-quality, community-focused provision, such as management and sharing of large and complex data sets at a community level for data discovery, data mining and data integration, state-of-the-art, well-maintained software tools enabling cutting-edge analyses, workflows, and ultimately novel insights from bioscience data, such as AI and machine learning, and access to materials that underpin world-class bioscience research, including but not limited to culture and germplasm collections, mutant lines and clones, DNA samples, and genetic libraries. So bioinformatic resources enable management, analysis and sharing of large or complex datasets, and the development of novel software solutions that enable deeper analysis of existing datasets and greater understanding of biological systems. Biological resources provide access to materials that underpin cutting-edge bioscience or research. And this slide demonstrates the impact a resource has for the community compared to a research project, and another reason why BBSRC runs BBR. Moving on to the scope for 25 BBR. So in scope for 25 BBR core are projects that establish a new and innovative resource that will be beneficial to the broader BBSRC user base. So second, we have maturation and subsequent maintenance of a project-based resource into a community-based one. Thirdly, we have further development or essential maintenance of an existing community resource with well-established access mechanisms to increase its relevance, quality and utility. For example, by enabling the resource to support FAIR principles, by enabling new uses such as metadata enrichment for machine learning and AI approaches. And finally, in scope is association or integration of distinct resources that will create and upgrade a resource with a greater value than the sum of its parts. So while the intention for BBR projects is to benefit UK researchers, we do recognise that internationally leading infrastructures, facilities and resources will have significant portions of their user base outside of the UK. So when scoping your project, please consider that resources with a significant impact and demand from within the UK research base fit in the scope of the opportunity better than projects that serve a broad international community in which the UK only has a relatively small domestic user base. Okay, moving on to out of scope things for BBR core. So firstly, we have resources that aren't primarily of relevance to BBSRC's remit and mission. And related to that are where the expected use of the resource and user community lacks a clear focus within the biosciences, and this can be, for instance, biomedical and clinical data. Thirdly, we have proposals where the primary aim is to address a specific research hypothesis or question, and this would be versus building or enhancing a community resource. the creation of data that could be placed in existing repositories or lack strong justification for why there is a specific need to generate data as part of a resource provision. So next we have resources that are already suitably supported by other means, resources that only provide institutional or restricted access, collections of preserved non-recoverable specimens, and finally archive-only resources without active usage. On top of this, all applications are expected to evidence consideration for alternative long-term sustainability options beyond BBSRC support. And as we've already mentioned, all applications need to fit to BBSRC remit as well as adhere to BBR. So they need to be over 50% within our remit. And we do engage with other councils to check this. Moving on to the assessment criteria. So we have these 8 assessment criteria. BBR is run on the funding service, and these can be seen there. So, firstly, we have vision, and in this you'll be asked what you are hoping to achieve with your proposed resource, and you'll be judged on to what extent you have explained in your proposed work, how your proposed work, is of excellent quality and importance within or beyond the field or areas, how it has the potential to advance current understanding, generate new knowledge, thinking or discovery within or beyond the field or area, how timely, given current trends, context and needs it is, and how it impacts world-leading research, society, the economy or the environment. So next we have approach, and under this you'll be asked how are you going to deliver your proposed work, and it will be assessed by what extent you have demonstrated that you've designed the approach so that it is effective and appropriate to achieve the objectives, how feasible and comprehensively it identifies any risks to delivery and how you've managed these, how it uses a clear and transparent methodology, if applicable, how you summarise the previous work and describe how this will be built upon and progressed, if applicable, how you will maximise translation of outputs into outcomes and impacts, and how you describe how your, and if applicable, your team's research environment will contribute to the success of the work. So next up we have community demand, and you'll be asked to provide up to 10 letters or emails demonstrating community demand, and you'll be assessed to what extent you've indicated community demand for the resource in question, demonstrated the breadth of research and the high quality science relevance to BBSRC remit that the resource would underpin. So next we have applicant and team capability to deliver, and you'll be asked why are you the right individual or team to successfully deliver the proposed work, and you'll be assessed again what extent you have, and if relevant your team, demonstrated that you have the relevant experience appropriate to your career stage to deliver the proposed work, if you have the right balance of skills and expertise to cover the proposed work, if you have the appropriate leadership and management skills to deliver the work and your approach to develop others, and how you contribute to the developing a positive research environment and wider community. So next we have project partners. So you'll be able to add details about any project partner contributions. If there are no project partners, you can indicate this on the funding service. So a project partner is a collaborating organisation who will have an integral role in the proposed research. And if you do have project partners, you'll be assessed against what extent the provided project partner letters of support confirm that the partner's commitment to the project, clearly explain the value, relevance and possible benefits of the work to them, and describe any additional value that they bring to the project. So next we have management strategy, and you'll be asked how do you plan to manage the resource, and you'll be assessed against what extent you have demonstrated that the resource will have governance arrangements appropriate for the oversight and successful delivery of the project's complexity, how well you've provided details about the project's management and advisory structure, how well you've provided details of the approach to the project and risk management and the monitoring strategies for tracking progress of the proposed programme, How well you've provided details on how demand and access requests will be managed and what support will be provided to the users of the resource. How well you provided information on the proposed membership of an independent advisory board and how it will be used. And how well you provided details on how the resource user perspective and their needs will be considered, including how feedback will be sought and subsequently used to inform the management of the resource. So second to last, we have data management and sharing. So how will you manage and share the data collected or acquired through the proposed resource? And you'll be assessed against, does the provided data management plan demonstrate the suitability of the project's approach towards data management, including adherence to the UKRI's published data sharing policy, which can be found on our website and I believe is linked in the funding service as well. So finally, the last assessment criteria is resource and cost justification, and you'll be asked what you need to deliver your proposed work and how much it will cost. And you'll be assessed against what extent you have demonstrated that the resource needed for the proposed work are comprehensive, appropriate and justified, represent the optimal use of resources to achieve the intended outcomes, and maximise potential outcomes and impacts. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Daniela, who is not only an expert in BBR, but also in trusted research and innovation.
Yeah, thank you. So this is just a brief interlude from me, specifically on the trusted research and innovation aspects and how they apply to BBR as a funding opportunity. As you might have come across a National Securities and Investment Act before. It identifies 17 sensitive technologies that where the UK is considering those need a little more scrutiny if they appear in an investment we make as a country, and to make sure that due diligence is applied to processes that relate to anything related to trusted research and innovation. One of those 17 areas considered in the NSI Act is data infrastructure. And based on experience, the vast majority of what is submitted to BBR will be considered under this data infrastructure definition. So while you might not be familiar with the topic as such, any non-applicable response you are tempted to make on your application, we would need a justification as to why you would consider this topic not to be relevant for your resource. There's no expectation for a detailed explanation as to what you do. What we want to have assurance on as a funding organization is that your organization, the hosting organization or organizations, if it's multiple organizations, have processes in place for how international collaboration is considered, how risks are considered, and how mitigation plans are put in place. There's further guidance available on our website, but for now, this is really a reminder that because data infrastructure is one of the areas under consideration, we would expect to see a response of some description. Another technology that's sensitive is AI, which we see across a lot of data-intensive resources these days for obvious reasons. So that gives you another reason to consider. It's worth having a look. Your organization should have either Trusted Research Office to speak to, or your research office more generally should be able to advise who to speak to within your organization. And with that, I'll hand it back to Linda.
Thank you, Daniela. Lovely. So, onto research technical professionals. So UKRI is a signatory of the technician commitment, and our action plan involves recognising the valuable expertise that research technical professionals bring to BBSRC awards. So on the right and the bottom of the slide, you can see key strategic documents that aim to implement improved support to RTP communities in line with the technician's commitment. So RTPs have been eligible to apply for our funding opportunities. However, they've not always been given the visibility and recognition they deserve. And our aim is to now increase awareness of eligibility in these communities and across UK research organisations, especially those who make a substantial technical contribution to the proposed project should be named as applicants. So BBSRC recognises the talent for innovation, expert knowledge and technical competence that RTPs possess. Therefore, BBSRC particularly supports the provision of relevant training and upskilling opportunities beneficial to the success of the proposed project to be costed into 25 BBR applications. RTP, or Research Software Engineer, can be listed as project lead or as a project co-lead, provided that their appointment is resourced from the central funds of their research organisation at the time of the application, that their level of responsibilities and duties is appropriate to a person with substantial research experience, and that their contract extends beyond the duration of the project. So next we have a timeline for 25 BBR. So as you can see, the opportunity is open now, and we must receive your application by the 25th of November at 4 p.m. You will not be able to apply after this time, so please also make sure that you are aware and follow any internal institutional deadlines. Joint proposals via separate link submissions are not permitted. It is the responsibility of the project lead and their research organisation to make the submission on behalf of all the investigators or project leads and co-leads. Following the submission of your application to the funding opportunity, your application cannot be changed and applications will not be returned for amendment. If your application does not follow the guidance, it may be rejected. For 25 BBR, we are running a panel only. I'll go into this a little bit more on the next slide as well. And the panel members will be providing reviews that the project lead will be able to respond to. And the window for this response is mid-January to mid-February, so please keep an eye on your emails during this time. And we aim to communicate the outcomes in May 26. And another reminder that the earliest start date for the proposals is the 1st of July 26. So just a bit more about the assessment process. So it's an individual review by panel members. So each proposal will be allocated to 3 members of the expert panel who will provide an independent initial reviews of the assigned proposals against the specified criteria for this funding opportunity that I mentioned earlier. The panel members will be asked to provide comments, raise questions and give an indicative pre-score. Ad hoc reviews by external reviewers will only be gathered by exception, therefore most applicants should expect to receive only 3 reviews to respond to. So the next step is the project lead response, or the PI response, as was. So following the individual review by the assigned panel members, the project lead will have the opportunity to respond to any comments or questions raised, usually within a 2-week period, and this was the mid-January to mid-February time period. Panel members assigned to your proposal may adjust their pre-scores ahead of the panel meeting following your response, so you are advised to directly address all the questions and issues raised. And the panel will use your response as part of their final scoring of your proposal. So the next step is expert panel. So following the individual review by the expert panel members and your response, we will invite the whole panel to assess the quality of your application, come to a consensus and rank it alongside other applications. Final funding decisions will take account of the panel outcomes, quality of the applications received and the portfolio of projects that can be supported using the available budgets. So the last step is feedback, and we'll give feedback to all applicants with the outcome of your application expected in May. So finally, all queries regarding the funding service should go to this email here, so support@fundingservice.ukri.org. So queries regarding the opportunity itself should go to us at bbr.fund@bbsrc.ukri.org. And if you can put the reference 25 BBR in the subject heading of your email so that we can easily identify relevant queries. And there's also a phone number here for the TFS help desk. We'll put these slides along with a recording and an FAQ document on the Funding Finder website in the coming days. So we are onto the questions section. So if you missed it at the start, please do pop any questions you have in the chat and I will stop sharing. And I've got a chat and a Q&A. So we'll look at the chat first. Okie dokie. So I will read out the questions and then either myself or Daniela will answer them. So the first question, can project partners be international? Daniela, unless I am wrong, yes, they can be international project partners.
Yes, they can be. We can't pay international collaborators, so they can't be an international co-investigator, but adding them as project partners is welcome where it's sensible. So there's no need to add them just for the sake of it, but if they make sense as part of your resource proposal, then please do add them.
Magic, thank you, Daniela. So the next question we have is it necessary to provide the names of the advisory board members in the application, or should we outline the process by which the board will be established? Daniela, I'm going to pass over to you again. Thank you.
Yeah, I can take that. That depends on where you are with your resource. If you have an existing resource that operates with an existing advisory board, please add the numbers of your current members, the names of your current members, my apologies. For resources that don't have an established advisory board yet, if you have people who've expressed an interest or already agreed to sit in your board, please add names where you have them. Otherwise, as the question suggests, please outline how you would appoint members and what type of person you would look to appoint to your board, so the panel has an opportunity to assess whether they think what you're proposing is suitable, or if they would make recommendations as to what could be added.
Thank you. So the next question, does a partnership increase scoring of the proposal? No, don't add partnerships just because you think you need to. You'll be scored against the, I'm assuming that's project partners, you'll be scored against sort of the quality of the project partner and the relevance to the project and what value they add to the project. You do not need to add project partners just for the sake of it. Do you have anything to add, Daniela?
No, just what Linda said. Like, don't add them for the sake of it. If they make sense as part of your proposal, please add them. But the resource will be considered as a whole. And same as for the letters of support, we're looking for quality over quantity. So bringing in a small number of high quality partners that substantially add to your resource is a lot more valuable than just adding a larger number of partnerships for the sake of adding the numbers.
Thank you. Okay, I think the next one is more of a comment. Thank you. Okay, the next question. Are letters confirming the role of the project partners included in the 10 letters of support, or can these be in addition? The project, you can upload separately project partner letters. So there's the 10 letters of support to show the community demand, and then later on in the application, if you do have project partners, you can add another PDF that outlines the project partners and how they add to the proposal. Anything to add on that, Daniela?
No, that's exactly it. There is a difference between, we're limiting the community demand letters for the sake of the argument I made around quality over quantity. But for project partners, if you have more than 10 project partners you do need to add, then we want to give you the opportunity to add the letters you need. So that's why this section isn't limited to a particular number. But again, the quality over quantity argument still applies.
Magic, thank you. Next question. What has been the typical funding rate on the previous round of this scheme?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, thank you.
I can pick that up. So it varies because the overall numbers are small. So we tend to fund between 6 to 10 applications. each year, so the success rate tends to vary somewhere between 20 and 30%, depending on the size of the resources coming out at the top and available funding. So it's a bit variable, but that gives you a rough idea. We look to fund around 6 to 10.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, next question. For the submission, is the proposal just based on the sections filled in on the online submission system, or is there an opportunity to attach additional files, as in the old system, for instance, case for support documents? No, you cannot add, it's just based on the sections in the funding system, and you can only add additional documents where indicated. So for the letters of support, you can upload a PDF. For the project partners, and I can't remember if there are other sections, you can add it, but you can't add additional documents, no.
It should just be the 2 sections that ask for letters of support. While we do provide a template for the data management plan to give you an idea about the headers we're looking to for you to cover, the idea is for you to copy the text into the available box in TFS rather than upload an attachment.
Excellent, thank you. Next question. Oh, this is 2 questions, so 3 questions. So we'll read them out. Yeah. So the first question: when referring to the utility to the large scientific community of the resource, is a BBSRC funded community prioritised over a community otherwise funded?
Yeah, I can pick that up if you want.
Thank you.
So
yes, please.
It's assuming what you're referring to is like we make a difference between the bioscience community and BBSRC funded. Those aren't necessarily identical, because there's other funders out there that fund research that's relevant to the bioscience community. So what the focus should be is on the relevance to the bioscience community, whether they've been funded by BBSRC or by MRC or by Wellcome or by other organizations is irrelevant in this aspect. It's more about the relevance of the research that would be supported to BBSRC.
Excellent, thank you. Number 2, is an advisory board strongly recommended?
Yes. Short answer, yes. We would like you to have a robust governance structure in place that makes sure there's an independent advisory board in place that can advise, but also provides the right level of scrutiny to make sure that there is some due diligence in place. Which also answers the next question: are the letters of support authors expected to be also part of the advisory board? There is a chance that they shouldn't be. Coming back to the point around an independent advisory board, if you have particular project partners, we would not expect to see on the advisory board because they're directly involved in a project. For the community demand letters, that's a different conversation because they are reasonably independent from the project. So there is a little, that the main point to consider is a level of being removed from the project to be able to actually advise independently as the product needs.
Excellent, thank you, Daniela. Next question: is it a maximum community demand letters, not a minimum? Above max or 10 letters, not minimum. It's up to and including 10 letters of support. And as Daniela said, quantity over quality, please.
The other way around, quality over quantity.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Next question: could international partners be sourced from commercial entities, i.e. software developer companies? And if so, could they be subcontracted, or is this not allowed? So we have some details on subcontracting and project partners on our website. Generally, subcontractors are providing a service, whereas project partners are also providing intellectual input into the project. You can't be funded as a project partner, whereas you can be. We can pay for the service through subcontracting. So that's a very long way of saying It depends, to be honest, on the specific case, and what their involvement in the project. Feel free to follow up with an email and more details, and we're happy to discuss that. Unless Daniela has any additional comments to that.
No, I would have suggested a lot of this is very case by case dependent. So if you want to have a more detailed discussion about this, do get in touch. You have our contact email. Just drop us we usually look for like a one-page max, a summary of the project you're proposing, and in this instance, explaining the role the international partner would play. So we can then assess this with a bit more, based on a little bit more information, and to give you as robust a response as we can.
Thank you. Next question. Does the content of the resource can only be data or tools, or can it include training as well? And if yes, in which proportion? Would 100% be acceptable?
I can pick this up?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So some portion of training can be beneficial to include as part of your resource proposition, especially when it comes to user training. If you on both for new resources and for existing resources, making sure that your users are trained to use your resource effectively is a good investment of money. It can't be 100% training because largely for budgetary reasons, because the funds we can spend on training when it's 100% training would come from a different budget line than the resource funding that we're providing. So 100% training resource would be questionable, would raise some questions. But again, if you would like to drop us an email explaining a little bit more what you had in mind, we can provide a bit more steer as to what would and wouldn't be considered in scope.
Thank you. So, next question. Can part of the sustainability beyond the grant be from spin-off or creating a company from the start? Is there any guidance on this? Daniela, I'm going to pass over to you if that's okay.
So yeah, it can be. As you will have noticed, we've mentioned that we expect consideration of sustainability but didn't give any further detail. This is because we're not mandating a particular model, and we would like to keep this as open as we can to account for the variability of options that particular resources might be able to take. So there's no further guidance per se. Creating spin-out companies has happened before for other BBR funded resources, so that's definitely an option. Creating as a company from the start might raise some questions considering this is public funding we're spending. So again, if you want to reach out with a bit more detail, I appreciate a lot of the answers we give is depends and case by case, but there's a reason for that because we don't want to give a straight no if we don't need to. So if that's enough as an initial steer, that's fine. But otherwise, if you want to reach out and discuss in a bit more detail, please do.
Lovely, thank you. Next question. Is the AI/machine learning scope of the call essential to be included in the proposal, or would this be considered as an added value?
It is not essential to include artificial intelligence, but we wanted to make it explicit that it's very welcome as an inclusion if it makes sense for the resource you're proposing. The last thing we want is to force AI into something where it's not suitable. If AI as a tool makes sense to integrate into the resource you're proposing, please do. If it doesn't make sense and other methodologies are a lot more sensible and appropriate, then don't. So there's no need for you to explain why you're not using AI, but if you're including it, it would be welcome.
Excellent, thank you. Next question. Can you expand a bit on how you assess a resource that has both a strong UK user base as well as serving an international community?
Do you want me to take that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, can do. So what can we say? So as Linda mentioned earlier, what would potentially be a concern if there's a very limited UK user base. But if you're starting from a strong UK user base, that's a good starting point for an application to BBR. But what we recognize is that depending on which community you're looking to serve, there will also be a strong international component. The panel will be advised to start from the UK perspective because we're talking about UK taxpayers' money that will be supporting your resource. So the case for the UK needs to be there in the first place. But after that, it becomes a question of impact of the resource on the community in question. This is not about the total community size and numbers. It's about the relative impact. So if you have a fairly small user community, but the impact of the resource you would provide would be substantial, that's a much stronger case to be made than a resource that theoretically has a very large global user base, but the impact on the research community would be marginal. I hope that helped explain it a little bit. If that wasn't quite the question you're asking, please do follow up so we can follow up with a response as well.
Thank you, Daniela. Next question. Are the community demand letters the same as project partners? I'm assuming you mean the same as the project partner demand letters. No, they're two separate things. So the community demand, you're showing the community demand, and in this you can have up to 10 letters. And then when you add the project partners later on in the form, you then also provide letters of what the project partners are basically going to, how they're going to support the resource, what added value they have. So they're two separate things. Do you have anything to add, Daniela?
No.
Next question. Is the 2 million cap per project cost to the funder or full economic cost? It's the 80% FEC, so it's cost to us. Is that correct, Daniela?
No, so it's the for applicants. It's the FEC for applicants is 2 million. 1.6 million of that would be supported by the funders.
Okay, apologies. I said that wrong in the presentation earlier as well. Okay, so
thanks for asking, so we could clarify.
Yes, thank you. Next question: can funds for workshops and meetings be included?
Yes, if they make sense as part of the overall resource provision.
Lovely. And then the final question in the chat, and then I'll move over to the Q&A. How important is the inclusion of industrial partners, and which size should be preferred from startups to big pharma? Don't put them in if you don't need to put them in. Again, it's back to the project partners. It's quality and what they give to the resource and how the added benefit they add, rather than their inclusion. It's not a tick box.
Yes. Yeah.
Lovely.
And just to follow up on the startup versus big pharma question. So there's no preference from our end. All are welcome. The key point will be that their presence on the project is justified by the project you're proposing.
Lovely. So we've just had a follow-up on how you would assess a resource that has both a strong UK user base and an international user base. Oh, it is a question, yeah. Adding to that, if we're talking about international networks of disease reference labs with their stakeholders, international organisations, being the main user base, so essentially serving partially a UK user base. Maybe we should we follow this up afterwards, if you can send us an email? Or
yeah, I would suggest you send us an email if you're not quite sure, but like based on what you said, yes, this is quite common as user bases. We see that parts sit in the UK, parts sit outside of the UK, but it mainly comes down to the point of, is there sufficiently relevant UK user base in the first instance? How much international engagement is on top of that is a little secondary to that, but I would suggest if you're happy to do that, just to follow up with us separately by email so we can discuss.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, thank you everyone in the Q&A who waited patiently. Oh, some of them are the same, I believe.
Yes,
So,
the first one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we've only got 2. Lovely. So, sorry. Please could you point to a working definition of biomedical and clinical data which would be out of scope? Oh, and I see someone's commented on this.
Yeah.
Daniela has.
That was me.
Magic.
I linked, like we do have an existing joint BBSRC MRC statement explaining a little bit more where we see the remit boundary sitting when it comes to the health versus disease argument and the bioscience versus biomedical side of research. But we appreciate that this is a very gray area. So again, if you're not sure after reading that guidance, if you just want to reach out individually with a little bit more detail about your specific resource, we can give you a more targeted steer as to whether we would consider this to be within remit.
Excellent, thank you, Daniela. Right, I've got a red dot next to the chat, so yep, there's a couple more. No, sorry, there isn't. Yeah. It's my screen. Okay, if no one has any more questions, just to confirm, so we're going to be uploading this recording along with the slides and an updated FAQ document onto the Funding Finder page. Also, if you have any extra questions that have come to your mind following this webinar, please do send them into the BBR inbox and we'll be, thank you Tanya, I'll be more than happy to get back to you. And we look forward to receiving your applications. Lovely. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks all. Bye.
Should I press end the event button? I assume so.
Oh, I think I've done it.
You've done it. Good.